The day I rolled into Willow Creek with my beat-up hatchback stuffed to the brim with MOVYing boxes, I thought I'd found paradise. The suburban enclave was postcard perfect. Emerald lawns trimmed with surgical precision, white picket fences gleaming under the midday sun, and towering sycamores casting dappled shade over quiet streets. It was the kind of place where you could hear birdsong over the hum of traffic, a rare sanctuary just 30 minutes from the city's chaos. I bought the modest two-story at 14, Sycamore Lane sight unseen, lured by the listing's promise of peaceful living and a tight-knit community. After a bruising divorce and a job transfer, I craved a reset. My name's Ellie Harper, and at 38, I was ready to trade urban grit for suburban serenity. I was wrestling a cardboard box labeled kitchen stuff from the trunk when a shadow fell across the driveway. A voice sharp, clipped, and unmistakably authoritative cut through the stillness. "You're the new resident, I presume?" I straightened up, brushing sweat from my brow, and turned to face a woman who looked like she'd stepped out of a corporate boardroom. She was in her late 50s with silver-streaked chestnut hair pulled into a tight bun, a navy blazer buttoned over a white blouse, and khakis so crisp they could have doubled as a military uniform. Her hazel eyes scanned me, then the scattered boxes, with the precision of a hawk sizing up prey. Yeah. Hi," I said, wiping my hands on my jeans before offering one. "I'm Ellie Harper, just MOVYing in." She gave my hand a perfunctory shake two pumps, no warmth. "Judith Kessler," she replied, her tone as stiff as her posture. "I'm the president of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. Most people call me Mrs. Kessler. Welcome to the neighborhood." Her lips twitched, but it wasn't a smile, more like a muscle spasm she'd trained into submission. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Kessler," I said, forcing a grin. Behind her, I caught movement. A wiry man in a polo shirt watering his roses across the street, his eyes darting toward us before snapping back to his task. A woman pushing a stroller slowed her pace, pretending to adjust the canopy while stealing glances. The air felt thick, staged, as if Judith Kessler's arrival had flipped a switch and the whole block was now performing for her. "Willow Creek is a special place," she continued, folding her arms. "We value order, cleanliness, and adherence to our community standards. You'll find the HOA guidelines in your mailbox. I suggest you review them thoroughly. We enforce them without exception." "Got it," I said, nodding. "I'll check them out." Looking forward to settling in. She glanced at her watch, a sleek silver thing that screamed efficiency, then back at my car. "Very well. I'll be by in a few days to ensure everything's in compliance. Enjoy your move-in." With that, she pivoted and strode off, her loafers clicking against the pavement like a metronome. I watched her go, a knot forming in my stomach. I'd dealt with HOAs before, paint color rules, no lawn mowing on Sunday stuff, but something about Judith Kessler felt different. Predatory, almost. Shaking it off, I hauled the last box inside and collapsed onto the couch I'd shoved against the living room wall. The house smelled of fresh paint and possibility, its hardwood floors scuffed but warm, its windows framing a VYEW of the sycamores swaying in the breeze. I just popped open a soda when I remembered her mention of the mailbox. Curiosity tugged me outside. Sure enough, a thick manila envelope waited, labeled Willow Creek HOA Regulations in bold, no-nonsense font. I tore it open and sank onto the porch steps, flipping through the pages. The rules were exhaustive. Fences couldn't exceed 4 feet. Mailboxes had to be matte black with gold numbering. Trash cans were to be hidden from VYEW by 6 a.m. On pickup day, there were limits on garden gnomes, 1 per lot, bans on wind chimes unless muted, and a decree that holiday decorations couldn't go up before December 1st. I chuckled at first, over the top, sure, but manageable. Then I hit the section on outdoor lighting. All exterior lights must be turned off by 9 p.m., unless motion activated and downward facing, to minimize light pollution and energy waste. A little strict, but I could live with it. I like my evenings quiet anyway. Still, Judith Kessler's parting words echoed. "I'll be by in a few days to ensure everything's in compliance." I had a feeling this wasn't the last I'd see of her. Life in Willow Creek started smoothly enough. My neighbors were polite, if reserved quick waves over hedges, small talk about the weather. There was R.A.V.Y. Patel, the rose-watering guy across the street, a software engineer with a dry sense of humor. Taryn Wynn, the stroller mom, who taught yoga and radiated calm. An older couple, the Hendersons, who shuffled by each morning with their terrier, muttering about squirrels. They all seemed nice, but there was an undercurrent of caution in their smiles, like they were waiting for something to shift. 3 days after MOVYing in, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Judith Kessler, clipboard in hand, her expression as unyielding as granite. "Good morning, MS. Harper," she said, peering past me into the chaos of unpacked boxes. "I'm here for your initial check-in. May I come in?" Sure," I said, stepping aside. I hadn't invited her, but refusing felt like poking a bear. She swept into the Lee-Ing room, her eyes flicking over the mess with thinly veiled disdain. "Have your VYEU the guidelines?" she asked, tapping her pen against the clipboard. "Yeah. I read through them," I said, crossing my arms. "Pretty detailed stuff." "We pride ourselves on detail," she replied, her voice icy. "It's what keeps Willow Creek exceptional. No overgrown weeds, no garish yard art, no disruptions to the aesthetic. Imagine if we let standards slip, chaos would follow." "Right," I said, biting back a sarcastic heaven forbid a rogue flamingo. "I'm planning to keep things simple. Lawn mowed, trash cans in, that sort of thing." She nodded, jotting something down. "Good. I'll be monitoring your progress. First impressions matter, MS. Harper." She lingered a moment longer, her gaze settling on a box labeled patio lights, then left without another word. I shut the door and leaned against it, exhaling. If this was her idea of a welcome wagon, I'd hate to see her on a bad day. That weekend, I decided to tackle the backyard. I'd always loved outdoor spaces. My old apartment had a tiny balcony where I'd strung fairy lights and potted herbs. Here, I had a real yard, a blank canvas of grass, and a weathered wooden deck. Inspired, I drove to the hardware store and picked up a set of solar-powered lantern soft amber globes that would hang from the deck railing and some low-voltage LED stakes to line the path from the back door to the garage. They were subtle, eco-friendly, and perfect for late-night reading on the deck. Plus, they'd shut off automatically after a few hours, well before Judith's 9 p.m. curfew. I spent Saturday afternoon installing them, hammering stakes into the soil, and adjusting the lanterns until they glowed just right. That night, I sat outside with a glass of wine, watching the lights flicker to life as dusk settled. The effect was magical warm, inviting, like a hug from the earth itself. I snapped a photo and texted it to my sister, Leah, with the caption, "New digs, new VY Bess." Her reply pinged back, "Gorgeous. Tell me you're throwing a housewarming party soon." Maybe once I unpacked the other 47 boxes, I typed, grinning. For the first time in months, I felt like I was building something mine. Monday morning, I was sipping coffee on the deck when RAVY jogged over, his sneakers squeaking on the pavement. "Hey, Ellie," he said, catching his breath. "Love the lights. Really classy touch." "Thanks," I said, beaming. I was going for cozy without overdoing it. He glanced over his shoulder, lowering his voice. "Just a heads up, Judith is going to hate them." I frowned. "Why?" "They're solar. No energy waste, no grid power. And they're off by midnight." "Doesn't matter," he said, shrugging. "She's got this thing about lights after dark calls at VY Sewell Clutter. She's been pushing for stricter rules ever since some guy on Elm Street put up those blinding floodlights last year. Nearly started a war over it." "But these are dim," I protested. "Barely noticeable from the street." "Judith notices everything," he said with a wry grin. "She's like the neighborhood's own big brother, minus the charm. Just thought you should know." I thanked him and watched him jog off, unease creeping in. That evening, as I pulled into the driveway after work, I spotted Judith's silhouette in her upstairs window, 2 houses down. Her curtains twitched, and I swore I felt her stare zeroing in on my backyard. I brushed it off paranoia. Probably, but the next day, a typewritten notice appeared in my mailbox. Dear MS. Harper, it has been observed that your property at 14 Sycamore Lane is utilizing outdoor lighting beyond acceptable levels. Per Willow Creek HOA guidelines, all exterior lights must be extinguished by 9 p.m. Please adjust accordingly or face further action. Regards, Judith Kessler, HOA President. I reread it, incredulous. My lanterns and stakes were solar-powered. For crying out loud, they didn't even draw electricity. And beyond acceptable levels, they were softer than a candle's glow. I stormed inside, grabbed the HOA rulebook, and flipped to the lighting section. Sure enough, it said, all exterior lights must be turned off by 9 p.m. unless motion-activated and downward-facing. No mention of power source, just a blanket cutoff. Technically, I was in violation, but the rule felt absurd applied to solar lights. Fuming, I drafted a reply, keeping it polite but firm. Dear Mrs. Kessler, thank you for your note. My outdoor lights are solar-powered and do not contribute to energy waste, aligning with the HOA's eco-friendly ethos. They're also low intensity and off by midnight. I'd be happy to discuss this further if needed. Sincerely, Ellie Harper. I slipped it into her mailbox that night, hoping reason would prevail. Wishful thinking. 2 days later, a flyer appeared on the community bulletin board near the park. Emergency HOA meeting, Wednesday, 7 p.m., Clubhouse. Topic, outdoor lighting policy. Attendance strongly encouraged. My stomach sank. This had my name written all over it. The clubhouse was a squat brick building with fluorescent lights and rows of folding chairs. By 6:55, it was packed 30-odd residents murmuring over coffee cups. Judith strode in at 7 o'clock sharp, gavel in hand, her navy blazer swapped for a charcoal suit that screamed, I mean business. She tapped the lectern, silencing the room. Good evening, Willow Creek, she began, her voice slicing through the air. We're here to address a growing concern, the misuse of outdoor lighting. Our current policy mandates a 9 p.m. shutoff, yet some residents, her eyes flicked to me, are exploiting loopholes with so-called eco-friendly fixtures. This undermines our commitment to sustainability and tranquility. A few heads turned my way. I shifted in my seat, cheeks burning. I propose we tighten the rule, she continued. All outdoor lighting solar or otherwise must be off by 8 p.m., with exceptions only for motion-activated security lights. This ensures uniformity and protects our night sky. Tara raised her hand. Judith, I get the light pollution angle, but what about safety? I walk my dog after work, and it's pitch black by 8 o'clock. A little light helps. And my grandkids play outside in the summer. Mr. Henderson piped up. No lights mean no visibility. Someone could trip. Judith's jaw tightened. Safety is a priority, which is why security lights are exempt. Decorative fixtures, however, are unnecessary. We're not running a theme park. The room buzzed with dissent. I stood, heart pounding. Can I say something? Judith nodded curtly. I agree sustainability matters, but banning solar lights doesn't save energy theory off the grid. My lanterns and stakes are dim, safe, and eco-friendly. This feels like overreach. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Judith's lips thinned. MS. Harper, the rule isn't about power source, it's about consistency. If everyone lights up their yards, we'll lose what makes Willow Creek special. The debate stretched on, voices rising. In the end, Judith called for a vote. The board her and 2 loyalists pushed it through, 2-1. The residents' vote was tighter, passing by 3 hands. Starting in 60 days, all lights, solar or not, had to go dark at 8 p.m. I left the meeting deflated, Tara patting my arm. Don't give up, she whispered. We got time to fight this. Back home, I pored over the rulebook, spotting a lifeline, the 60-day grace period before enforcement. I also noticed the new rules wording. All outdoor lighting fixtures must be deactivated by 8 p.m. Deactivated. Solar lights weren't activated by Methy ran on their own. A loophole, maybe? Inspired, I hit the hardware store again, this time snagging solar-powered Firefly lights, tiny LEDs that mimicked the erratic glow of insects. They charged by day, flickered at night, and cast a whimsical, barely there shimmer. If Judith wanted to play hardball, I'd play smarter. Over the next week, I installed them strings draped along the deck, clusters staked into the flower beds. At dusk, they came alive, transforming my yard into a fairy tale. Neighbors stopped to gawk. "Are those real fireflies?" Tara's daughter squealed. Ravy grinned over the fence. "You're a genius, Ellie." Judith's response was swift. A violation notice arrived. Remove all outdoor lighting by 8 p.m. or face fines. I fired back, citing the rule's focus on deactivation and the solar exemption implicit in its silence on off-grid power. Her reply was an email. "The spirit of the rule prohibits all illumination past 8 p.m. We'll address this at the next meeting." The neighborhood split. Some cheered my defiance. Others fretted Judith would double down. Ravy and Tara rallied support, and we drafted a petition, "Reject the 8 p.m. ban on solar lighting for safety and sustainability." 40 signatures piled up, a quiet uprising brewing. The next meeting was a circus. 50 residents crammed into the clubhouse, tension crackling. Judith proposed an amendment. All lighting, regardless of source, off by 8 p.m. I countered with the petition, facts on solar benefits, and a plea for compromise. The room erupted. Applause for me, glares at Judith. The vote flipped. Her amendment tanked, 3-2 on the board, 35-15 among residents. Victory tasted sweet. Judith stormed out, but the war wasn't over. She retaliated with petty citations. Rav's rose trellis was too tall. Tara's stroller obstructed the sidewalk. We fought back, uniting to fix or refute each one. Then a twist. Late one night, I found Judith stranded with a blown tire. I helped her change it, and she softened, whispering, "Thank you." Rumors swirled she was Leah Vying. Her brother in Oregon was sick. At her final meeting, she resigned, nominating me as her replacement. Stunned, I accepted, vowing fairness over tyranny. Under my watch, Willow Creek bloomed. We rewrote the rules. Solar lights exempted, traditional ones allowed until 10 p.m. With efficiency caps, the Firefly lights spread, a symbol of our triumph. Judith sent a letter from Oregon, admitting her rigidity and wishing us well. I replied, thanking her for sparking our unity, however unwittingly. By summer, Willow Creek glowed not with defiance, but with community. The sycamores rustled, the fireflies danced, and we thrived, pro-VYing. Even the strictest Karen couldn't dim our light. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.